Dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Here in the live studios at Flat 8 in Hythe, 126 Stade Street to be exact. And we're fortunate enough to have the association of my dear godbrother, Bhagavata Shraya, in pixel form, just across the room. He's come all the way from Sydney, Australia, to join in this lovely repast on this holy day, Easter Day, to be able to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead together. It doesn't get any better than that. And particularly hearing the Uddhava Gita. Krishna spoke the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, to Arjuna, and now he's speaking the Gita to Uddhava. The same instructions, but embellished and strengthened and deepened beyond anyone's wildest dreams. You know, since Krishna spoke the Gita, the beginning of the Battle of Kurukshetra, so many things have happened. And the Srimad Bhagavatam has been spoken, and all of Krishna's pastimes have unfolded from the heart of Srila Vyasadeva, and therefore Krishna's explanation to Uddhava, which is meant to empower Uddhava to explain Krishna's mission to the sages at Badrikashram in the Himalayas. So it's very, very deep, very meaningful, and my godbrothers, His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami and Gopi Paranadana Prabhu and Dravida Prabhu, they teamed up, empowered by the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, that his Bhagavatam be finished, completed after he departed. And they did it in a sterling way. I'm in England, so you can use this word, sterling. Wonderful, empowered masterpiece, actually, of transcendental wisdom. So we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to be in each other's association at this time of everyone being locked down by this little virus. Everybody thinks they're so powerful. The leaders of the world are thinking they're so powerful, and they're vying for supremacy, economic, political, social, in so many ways. And then Krishna just throws this little virus into the atmosphere and says, hey, let's see how you can handle this one. And the whole world turns upside down with confusion and chaos and trouble. So it's trouble that's blessing in disguise, because now everyone is realizing the air is clearing, the water is becoming more pure, since the human beings aren't out and about polluting the atmosphere in the way that they do. So hopefully some of them are tuning in to the devotees who are reading Prabhupada's books and preaching Krishna consciousness in many different ways throughout the internet. There's definitely a push to do this. So we're very fortunate. People are going crazy. There's a hotline to the mental problem, phone number where people call in because they have mental problems, because they can't stand it to be able to stay indoors and just not have anything, quote unquote, to do. And here we are, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam together and chanting Hare Krishna and happy. We're not feeling good that so many people are suffering, even some of our God brothers and God sisters suffering, from this virus. But on the other hand, it's a wonderful opportunity to stay put and deepen our hearing and chanting, which is the goal of Krishna consciousness, to become attached to Krishna so that our success of the human form of life will be guaranteed. So with that, let us hear Srila Sanatana Goswami's. He self-isolated practically, voluntarily, stepped down from a high position in the government of Hussein Shah and became a mendicant with just one cloth and a quill for writing and some writing, not paper. They didn't even have paper in those days. They had leaves and different things to write on. And he compiled wonderful literature meant to re-spiritualize the human society on the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of those writings is the Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, which is found in the Sri Krishna Lila Stava in text 412 to 416. It is the 107th obeisance that Srila Sanatana Goswami planned to offer to the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna out of 108 obeisances. This is the second to the last obeisance, and it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshak Shadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bandho Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nisadaka Madbhagya Madanandanamostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin adini chochatakara hanamuncha gadachin mam premdarit kandayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 11, Chapter 21, Text 15. Lord Krishna continues his explanation of the Vedic path. A mantra is purified when chanted with proper knowledge, and one's work is purified when offered to me. Thus, by purification of the place, time, substance, doer, mantras, and work, one becomes religious, and by negligence of these 6 items, one is considered irreligious. Purport. Who knows what religion and irreligion is in this context? No one except the devotees. Purport. One receives a mantra from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master, who instructs the disciple in the method, meaning, and ultimate purpose of the mantra. The bona fide spiritual master in this age gives his disciple the Maha Mantra, or holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One who chants this mantra, considering himself to be the eternal servant of the Lord, gradually learns to chant offenselessly, and by such purified chanting, quickly achieves the highest perfection of life. The Lord here summarizes his discussion of purity and impurity, which manifest ultimately in religious and irreligious life. Text 16. Sometimes piety becomes sin, and sometimes what is ordinarily sin becomes piety on the strength of Vedic injunctions. Such special rules, in effect, eradicate the clear distinction between piety and sin. Purport. The Lord clearly explains here that material piety and sin are always relative considerations. For example, if a neighbor's house is on fire and one chops a hole in the roof so that the trapped family may escape, one is considered to be a pious hero because of the dangerous condition. In normal conditions, however, if one chops a hole in his neighbor's roof or breaks the neighbor's windows, he is considered a criminal. Similarly, one who abandons one's wife and children is certainly irresponsible and thoughtless. If one takes sannyas, however, and remains fixed on a higher spiritual platform, he is considered to be a most saintly person. Piety and sin, therefore, depend upon particular circumstances and are at times difficult to distinguish. According to Srila Madhvacharya, persons above the age of 14 are considered capable of distinguishing between good and bad, and are thus responsible for their pious and sinful activities. Animals, on the other hand, being merged in ignorance, cannot be blamed for their offenses or praised for their so-called good qualities, which all arise ultimately from ignorance. Human beings who act like animals, with the idea that one should not feel any guilt, but should do whatever one likes, will certainly take birth as animals, absorbed in ignorance. And there are other foolish people who, observing the relativity of material piety and sin, conclude that there is no absolute good. It should be understood, however, that Krishna consciousness is absolutely good, because it involves complete obedience to the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose goodness is eternal and absolute. Those who are inclined to study material piety and sin ultimately experience frustration due to the relativity and variability of the subject matter. One should therefore come to the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, which is valid and perfect in all circumstances. Text 17. The same activities that would degrade an elevated person do not cause fall down for those who are already fallen. Indeed, one who was lying on the ground cannot possibly fall further. The material association that is dictated by one's own nature is considered a good quality. Purport. The Lord here further describes the ambiguity in ascertaining material piety and sin. Although intimate association with women is most abominable for a renounced sannyasi, the same association is pious for a householder who is ordered by Vedic injunction to approach his wife at the suitable time for procreation. Similarly, a Brahmana who drinks liquor is considered to be committing a most abominable act, whereas a Shudra, a low-class man who can moderate his drinking, is considered to be self-controlled. Piety and sin on the material level are thus relative considerations. Any member of society, however, who receives diksha, initiation into the chanting of the Lord's holy names, must strictly obey the 4 regulative principles: no eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. A spiritually initiated person, neglecting these principles, will certainly fall from his elevated position of liberation. Text 18. By refraining from a particular sinful or materialistic activity, one becomes freed from its bondage. Such renunciation is the basis of religious and auspicious life for human beings and drives away all suffering, illusion, and fear. Purport. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 6-20, it is stated, Mahaprabhura Bhakta Ganira Vairagya Pradhan Yaha Deki Pritahana Gora Bhagavan. Renunciation is the basic principle sustaining the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees. Seeing this renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is extremely satisfied. Because of false ego, one considers oneself to be the proprietor and enjoyer of one's activities. Actually, Lord Krishna, the Personality of Godhead, is the proprietor and enjoyer of our activities. Recognition of this fact in Krishna consciousness leads one to real renunciation. Every human being should perform his prescribed duty as an offering to the Supreme Lord. Then there will be no possibility of material entanglement. Lord Krishna clearly explains in the Bhagavad Gita that prescribed duties performed as an offering to the Lord award liberation from material bondage. Sinful activities cannot be offered to the Lord, but must be given up altogether. In effect, the distinction between piety and sin is made so that the living entities will become pious and eligible to surrender to the Supreme Lord. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 7:28, Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam dridavrtaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. By thorough piety, one's life becomes auspicious and freed from lamentation, illusion, and fear, and one can then take to the path of Krishna consciousness. Text 19. One who accepts material sense objects as desirable certainly becomes attached to them. From such attachment, lust arises, and this lust creates quarrel among men. Purport. The actual goal of human life should not be material sense gratification, for it is the basis of conflict in human society. Although the Vedic literature sometimes sanctions sense gratification, the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is renunciation, since Vedic culture cannot possibly recommend anything that disturbs human life. A lusty person is easily angered and becomes inimical to anyone frustrating his lusty desires. Since his sex desire can never be satisfied, a lusty person ultimately becomes frustrated with his own sex partner, and thus a love-hate relationship develops. A lusty person considers himself to be the enjoyer of God's creation and is therefore full of pride and false prestige. The lusty, proud person will not be attracted to the process of humble submission at the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master. Attraction to illicit sex is thus the direct enemy of Krishna consciousness, which depends upon humble submission to the representative of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna also states in the Bhagavad Gita that desire for illicit sex is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. Because modern society sanctions unrestricted mixing of men and women, its citizens cannot possibly achieve peace. Rather, the regulation of conflict becomes the basis of social survival. This is the symptom of an ignorant society falsely accepting the material body as the highest good, as described here by the words Vishayeshu Gunadhyasat. One who is too affectionate to his own body will inevitably be seized by sex desire. Text 20. So eloquently put, huh? Can we hear that last sentence again? Mm-hmm. Yes, Maharaj, we can. Thank you very much. One who is too affectionate to his own body will inevitably be seized by sex desire. Little gems, huh? Strung together with eloquence. Text 20. From quarrel arises intolerable anger, followed by the darkness of ignorance. This ignorance quickly overtakes a man's broad intelligence. Purport. The desire for material association arises from one's propensity to deny that everything is God's energy, falsely imagining material sense objects to be separate from the Supreme Lord. One desires to enjoy them. Such desire gives rise to conflict and quarrel in human society. This conflict inevitably gives rise to great anger, which makes human beings become foolish and destructive. Thus, the actual goal of human life is quickly forgotten. Text 21. O saintly Uddhava, a person bereft of real intelligence is considered to have lost everything. Deviated from the actual purpose of his life, he becomes dull, just like a dead person. Purport. Krishna consciousness is so vital and essential that one who has deviated from this Krishna consciousness is so vital and essential that one who has deviated from this progressive path of self-realization is considered to be virtually unconscious or like a dead person. Since every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, anyone who falsely identifies with the external body is actually unconscious of his real position. Thus it is stated, Shunyaya kalpate. Pursuing that which has no factual existence, he is devoid of any tangible progress or benefit in life. You might want to check and make sure that this is on the right. It might be not in the right, connection. Right connection. Sorry, we got Bhagavata Shrine Prabhu was on the iPad, and apparently he lost the connection, so we're trying to reconnect him. The last word I read was connection, right? Mm-hmm. Sorry. Sticky keys? No. Huh. We're in verse 21, right? I can't find the word connection.
It's such a nice purple name.
I'm going to read it from the beginning. Okay, so that Bhagavat Prashaya Prabhu won't miss anything. Looks like he's not connected. Anyway, we're going to start from the beginning of this purport because it's so wonderful, and I lost track of where I was. Krishna consciousness is so vital and essential that one who has deviated from this progressive path of self-realization is considered to be virtually unconscious or like a dead person. Since every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, anyone who falsely identifies with the external body is actually unconscious of his real position. Thus it is stated, Shunyaya kalpate. Pursuing that which has no factual existence, he is devoid of any tangible progress or benefit in life. One whose consciousness is absorbed in the non-existent becomes himself practically non-existent. In this way, the eternal living entities become fallen, lost in the ocean of material existence. And it is only by the special mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord that they can be rescued. The Lord's devotees therefore instruct the fallen people to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thanks to the quick-wittedness of my loyal brahmachari assistant, he has fixed up another device so that you can be with us, Bhagavat. Welcome back. Hare Krishna. By this process, our real consciousness and life can be quickly revived. Text 22. Because of absorption and sense gratification, one cannot recognize himself or others. Living uselessly in ignorance like a tree, one is merely breathing just like a bellows. Purport. Just as trees, having no means of defending themselves, are always being cut down, similarly the conditioned souls are constantly being cut down by the cruel laws of nature, which impose innumerable miseries culminating in sudden death. Although foolish people think that they are helping themselves and others, they actually do not know that their own identity, nor the identities of their so-called friends and relatives. Read that one again. Although foolish people think they are helping themselves and others, they actually do not know their own identity, nor the identities of their so-called friends and relatives. Absorbed in gratifying the senses of the external body, they spend their lives uselessly without spiritual profit. This useless lifestyle can be transformed into a perfect life simply by chanting the holy names of God in Krishna consciousness, as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 23. Those statements of Scripture promising fruitive rewards do not prescribe the ultimate good for men, but are merely enticements for executing beneficial religious duties, like promises of candy spoken to induce a child to take beneficial medicine. Purport. In the previous verse, Lord Krishna stated that persons absorbed in sense gratification certainly deviate from the real purpose of human life. But since the Vedas themselves promise heavenly sense gratification as the result of sacrifice and austerity, how can such promotion to heaven be considered a deviation from the goal of life? The Lord here explains that the fruitive rewards offered in religious scriptures are merely inducements, like candy that is used to induce a child to take medicine. It is actually the medicine that is beneficial and not the candy. Similarly, in fruitive sacrifices, it is the worship of Lord Vishnu that is beneficial, not the fruitive reward itself. According to Bhagavad Gita, those professing fruitive rewards to be the ultimate goal of religious scripture are certainly less intelligent fools, inimical to the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord desires that all conditioned souls be purified and come back home, back to Godhead, for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. One who opposes the Lord's purpose in the name of religiosity is certainly bewildered about the purpose of life. Text 24. Simply by material birth, human beings become attached within their minds to personal sense gratification, long duration of life, sense activities, bodily strength, sexual potency, and friends and family. Their minds are thus absorbed in that which defeats their actual self-interest. Purport. Our attachment to the material body and the bodies of family and friends inevitably leads to unbearable anxiety and suffering. The mind absorbed in the bodily concept of life cannot possibly advance in self-realization, and thus one's hope for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge is defeated by the objects of one's so-called affection. Activities performed in ignorance are beneficial neither for oneself nor others, just as the charitable activities one may perform in a dream bestow no tangible benefit on real people. The conditioned soul is dreaming in a world separate from God, but any advancement experienced in this dream world is merely hallucination. The Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme enjoyer and Lord of all planets and worlds. Only by Krishna consciousness, recognition of the supremacy of God, can one make actual progress in life. And with that, I'm responding to the high five of my dear Radharaman, who was the time taker today. And we'll stop the reading at text 25 and ask if there's any reflections, if something stuck in one's mind during the reading and wants to enlighten us further with their reflections, or have further discussion, or have questions, please feel free. Yes, Radharaman.
On my Facebook page, I noted one purport from obviously the 11th Canto, chapter 21, text 19, which I think echoes Srila Prabhupada, both his purports and many times where he would diagnose that conflicts between devotees or whatever rooted in the fact that the regulative principles weren't being strictly followed.
Yes.
And so I'll just read this paragraph from the 19th, purport of the 19th verse. The actual goal of human life should not be material sense gratification, for it is the basis of conflict in human society. Although the Vedic literature sometimes sanctions sense gratification, the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is renunciation. Since Vedic culture cannot possibly recommend anything that disturbs human life. A lusty person is easily angered and becomes inimical to anyone frustrating his lusty desires. Since his sex desire can never be satisfied, a lusty person ultimately becomes frustrated with his own sex partner, and thus a love-hate relationship develops. A lusty person considers himself to be the enjoyer of God's creation and is therefore full of pride and false prestige. The lusty, proud person will not be attracted to the process of humble submission at the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master. Attraction to illicit sex is thus the direct enemy of Krishna consciousness, which depends upon humble submission to the representative of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that desire for illicit sex is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Yes, and he also says in the Gita, dushpurena nalenacha. It burns like fire. And therefore, in the laws of nature, the Vedas state that one of the direct reactions for illicit sex is fire. Burning by fire, destruction by fire. I was raised in California, and this last couple of years, California practically burned down to the ground. Many places. And it was the birthplace of all this pornographic industry. So all these things that are happening in human society, all these, disasters that apparently cause human suffering to the nth degree. Not that we shouldn't feel compassion for those who are suffering. We shouldn't look, askance and say things that would cause others to be more pain by our statements. But at the same time, we have to call a spade, and we have to say that, for every action is a reaction, and we are all collectively and individually getting exactly the results of our activities, But that doesn't mean I want to reiterate this and make it very important, especially now when this pandemic is sweeping the world. We should not say, anyway, we're not the body and this material world's a place of suffering, and therefore not feel compassion for those who are suffering. Because Prabhupada would feel, and he told us also that we should feel compassion for those who are suffering. But the real compassion is to give them knowledge so that they can learn to act and become free from the reactions that cause the suffering, which it mainly is illicit sex, frankly, to be completely honest. What else? Do we have everything else from the Bhagavad? Are you okay? Are you all right?
I'm okay, but I can't hear you all very well.
Really?
Yeah, maybe this device that Radharaman's turned on has got its volume down.
We'll try turning it up.
Problem is, I had a technological breakdown.
Oh, we thought something happened. Okay.
My computer is now telling me I have no Wi-Fi hardware installed.
Joy.
So I can't get online on my computer at the moment.
Oh no, that's a disaster.
Just put it on maximum.
I see.
I still can't hear you very well.
We put it on maximum. We'll try to speak louder then. Still can't hear?
It's okay. It's okay. I couldn't hear Radharaman before.
He's so soft-spoken. I got a couple of soft-spoken persons. My roommates are soft-spoken. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I see they have to get their voice down lower there.
Yes, exactly. Is anyone else giving us nectar from the cyberspace?
I can't see anyone. Can you see anyone?
Probably everyone is out there preaching their something.
Well, I didn't see that one. Manjari has one thing. Oh, there we go. It's just come now.
Rati Manjari has something to say. Hare Krishna, Rati.
She says, could you please explain about how the devotees of Lord Chaitanya are known for their renunciation?
The devotees, she's asking how the devotees of Lord Chaitanya are known for their renunciation. Well, the eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya only think of Lord Chaitanya, and they only do whatever they do for the satisfaction of Lord Chaitanya. They don't do anything for themselves or even for their families. One time, Lord Chaitanya came to the house of Srivas Thakur. Now, Srivas Thakur had 3 brothers, and all the brothers had wives and children, and there were servants for all of them, and they were packed in this house, all of these servants. And Lord Chaitanya came to Srivas, and he said, Srivas, I'm wondering, how is it that you maintain this huge family with servants and so many things? I never see you doing anything to make money. And then Srivas Thakur went, just like that, and Lord Chaitanya said, what does that mean? It means, if I don't get food and what I need in 3 days, I will just go in the river and drown myself. That's what I do for a living. And everything comes of its own will, and we never are in want. One time Srila Prabhupada chided the neighbors, I think it was in Los Angeles or someplace. They were getting on our case because we see that you people don't do work, you don't do anything, and you're living so luxuriantly, and you're eating nice food, and you're driving nice cars, and you have nice apartments. And Prabhupada said, yes, why don't you come and join us? No, not us. Because the devotees of Lord Chaitanya don't engage in sense gratification. They don't have illicit sex. They don't gamble. They don't eat meat, fish and eggs. They don't intoxicate themselves. They just enjoy chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra together and hearing the glories of the Lord together, and therefore they are steeped in real renunciation.
Rati added one thing.
Rati has added one thing. Please, Rati, go on.
How are we who are not in the renounced order of life supposed to imbibe this?
Doesn't make any difference. You just didn't understand what I said. Srivas Thakur was a householder with children and brothers and their wives and children and servants in a whole huge household. You have to be a sannyasi to be a renunciate. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiya sas sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir nachakriya. One who is not attached to the fruits of his work, but who works as he is obligated, is the real renunciate and the real sannyasi, not one who lights no fire and does no work. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya are the ultimate renunciants because they absorb themselves in devotional service to the Lord, whatever they do, even when they're doing their daily duties. They're doing their daily duties for the satisfaction of Lord Chaitanya. They're taking care of their children because they know that the children belong to Krishna. So they're doing it for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. They know that their place of residence belongs to Krishna, and therefore they take care of it more nicely than they would if they thought it would belong to them, etc., etc., etc. And eventually, when they do this and chant the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, their houses turn into Vrindavan. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Griha Thakur said. And that's about all I had to say about that. And with that, we're going to stop the reading tonight because we've already passed our quota of sitting in this chair. And I'd like to thank you all, especially Rati Manjari, for, as usual, being old. Well, I don't want to call her old. She's not very old. Young, faithful, whatever. She's faithfully always responding with questions and reflections, like Old Faithful. Yes?
There's one thing that just came up from Vilas Manjari Dasi.
Oh, Vilas Manjari, we owe you so much because of your wonderful devotional service.
She says 11:21:15. Maharaj, could you explain a little more about how one learns to chant offenselessly?
Well, along with the chanting, we should learn the prayers that glorify the Supreme Lord. I'll give you a little taste. This is called the Namastakam. Remember I said that I didn't chant it today? Well, I'm about to chant it by the mercy of Vilas Manjari, Devi Dasi. This is the Namastaka. So before you chant your rounds, Vilas Manjari, you please chant this prayer. And if you don't have it, I'll send it to you. Sri Namastaka, 8 verses glorifying the holy name by Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikila Shruti Mauli, Ratnamala, Dyutti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta, Ayi Muktukulayar Upashyamanam, Paritas Twang, Harinama Sangshayami. O Harinama, the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the string of gems known as the Upanishads, the crown jewels of all the Vedas. You are eternally adored by liberated souls like Narada and Shukadev. O Harinama, I take complete shelter of you. Jaya Namadeya Munivindageya He, Janaranjanaya Paramakshakrakrite, Twam Manadanad Abhimana Godiritam, Nikilogritapa Patalim Bilumpasi. O Harinama, all glories to you, sung by all the sages. You are the supreme combination of syllables, and you bring transcendental bliss to everyone. If a person utters you but once, even disrespectfully, you still relieve his many extreme sufferings. Text 3. Yada baso pyudyan kavaliva bhavadvantva vibhavo drishang tatmandanam apidishati bhakti pranayani janastasyo dhatang jagati bhagavan namatarane kriti te nirvaktum kahiha mahimanam prabhavati. O Son of the Holy Name, even a dim glimmer of your splendor swallows the powerful darkness of materialistic life and gives those who are blind to the truth the vision to follow the path of pure devotional service. Who in this world, even if learned and pious, can fully describe your transcendental glory? Yad Brahma Sakshat Kritinishtayapi Vinasham Ayati Vinana Bogaihi Apaiti Nama Spurinena Tate Prarabdha Karmiti Vidauti Vedaha. O Holy Name, the Vedas declare that meditation on the impersonal Brahman cannot bring freedom from karmic reactions, that they must be enjoyed or suffered, but that when you manifest yourself in one's consciousness, all karma at once disappears. Text 5. Agadamana Yashodanandana Nandasuno Kamalanayana Gopichandra Vrindavanendraha Pranatakaruna Krishna Ityaneka Sarupe Twayi Mamaratir Uchchar Vardatam Namadeya. O Holy Name, you have many forms, such as Agadamana, crusher of Agasura, Yashodanandana, darling child of Yashoda, Nandasuno, son of Nanda, Kamalanayana, lotus-eyed one, Gopi Chandra, moon of the gopis, Vrindavanendra, king of Vrindavan, Pranata Karuna, he who is merciful to the surrendered souls, and Krishna, he who is all attractive. I pray that my love for you in your many forms may greatly increase. Vacham vachakamityudeti bhavato nama sarupa dvayam purvasmat padame bahantu karunam tatrapi jani mahe yastasmin pihita paradani baha prani samantad bhaved asyene numupasyaso pihisida nandam buddha majjati. O holy name, you manifest yourself in two forms, the Supreme Person you designate and the sound vibration that designates. We know that the second form is more merciful than the first, because even if a person offends you, your first form, in many ways, you plunge him into an ocean of transcendental bliss if he serves your second form with his voice. Text 7. Sudita Shrichajanarti Rashaye Ramya Chit Ganasuka Sarupine Nama Gokula Mahotsavayate Krishtapurna Vapushe Namo Namaha. O holy name, you destroy the many sufferings of those who take shelter of you. You are the very form of concentrated spiritual bliss, a festival of happiness for Gokula, and the perfect and complete form of Lord Krishna. Again and again, I bow to you. And finally, text 8. Narada vino jivana sudormi nirya samaduri pura tvam Krishna nama kaman spurame rasane rasena siddha. O enlivener of Narada's vina, O flood of the waves of sweet nectar, O holy name of Lord Krishna, please forever manifest yourself on my tongue with all your nectarian sweetness. So that whole thing can be encapsulated in Srila Prabhupada's instruction that you should chant the holy name of the Lord like a child crying out for his mother. Hare Krishna. Yes, Bhagawan.
Do you have a word for word for that?
No, I've been trying. I've been asking everybody to do it, but Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu left this world, and since then I've been looking and looking, and I haven't found anybody who can do it. But the translation was originally Kushakratas, and then it was edited by Dravida, and I think by Jayadvaita Maharaj also. It's wonderful.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. So I hope, Vilas Manjari, that we answered your question. We chant without offense, and you can read about this in glorious terms in the 19th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Chaitanya, 19th chapter of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Chaitanya instructs Rupa Goswami about the chanting of the holy name, what the offenses are, and how, if you just try to avoid the offenses against the holy name, this is the key point. If you chant without trying to give up offenses, which means you have to know what they are, first of all, and you have to know them well enough that you can know whether you're about to, or you did, or you're going to, or you are, and avoid them like the plague, and at least try to avoid them. And if you don't, in text 160 of that chapter, you will find a whole list of anomalies that will come into your heart and into the heart of others, individually and collectively. And with that, I just went over my quota of time in the chair. Please forgive me, those of you who want to keep going. I want to keep going also, but I have to be disciplined. Disciple means disciplined, and I have to be disciplined now and continue to get stronger and stronger before I have to take these surgeries. So thank you very much, everyone. Adios, amigos. Vaya con Dios. May God be with you. And from here in the live studios in flat number 8, 126 State Street in Hythe, just overlooking the English Channel on the southeast coast of England, we bid thee adieu, and we'll see you tomorrow at the same time, guaranteed. Same time, same place. Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow. Haribol.